Can you all stand in a straight line?
We can't stand in a straight line.
That's true. Right, we have to stand in a zigzaggy line.
It was difficult for me to come out.
I'm surprised that a lot of us are on this side of the spectrum. There was no coming out for me in my generation because I came up in a very Christian family and didn't have a lot of LGBTQ folks around me that were examples of living freely as themselves, and so there was no closet for me to come out of. I was just expected to not be me.
My difficulty was really telling my 4 children and letting them know that, their dad had always felt that he was female. And my daughter kind of rejected me for a long time, and that was very painful, but was able to get through that.
My experience is similar to yours, but I'm here at somewhat agree because my family is Muslim, and then my mother left that faith and became born again Christian. And it's because she told me when I came out to her, your walk is your walk. Wow. And that helped me come out and just be me because it was always there. When I meet young people, sometimes you'll see them and they may not be there yet, but they recognize something. And I had that happen with a friend's child who now identifies as non-binary. And the first time I met them, I looked at them and I said, hi, my name's Abby. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. How would you like me to address you? And their eyes lit up because it was the first time they felt seen. I want them to see me and know that you're gonna be okay. You have family there, you have community there.
The reason it was difficult is because I was pulled out of the closet when I was 17, and even though I had a relationship with my first girlfriend and we knew we liked each other and we knew that we were exploring something that was really new, that was our secret. And when this popular kid at school found a note that I wrote to her and spread it all over the school, that's when the coming out or the pulling out happened. And that was an entirely traumatic process. I had to now process liking a girl, but now I am exposed to the entire school.
I was incredibly privileged to grow up in a really rather liberal town. My principal was openly gay.
Wow.
I also had a friend who was already out and was there by my side when I was coming out to people. And of course there was, emotional turmoil and whatnot. I first came out as a gay man, which was easier than coming out as like a trans femme, non-binary person. But even then, I found myself able to create a safe bubble.
My experience was difficult because I grew up in a very Catholic family in the Midwest, in St. Louis, as a Black trans femme as well. I didn't have the language or anyone to look to around me. So I too, like you, came out as a gay male when I was 13, and my family was just not having it. I always knew that I was a woman, but again, not having the language at the time and not being supported with that language, and also not seeing people around me that felt like me or looked like me was very difficult.
I'm in the middle because coming out 27 years ago in the South, don't ask, don't tell was the law of the land. Same-sex relations were still criminalized in many US states. There was no marriage equality. It was hard. My family, my parents didn't accept me right away, but I always knew there was nothing wrong with me. So for that reason, coming out was joyful.
I have always felt accepted by the LGBTQIA+ community.
So for me, I came out as a Black gay man with a lot of sugar in their tank, didn't know what non-binary was, heard what non-binary was, finally felt good within myself. And I find the most attacks as a non-binary person for me has been from gay men and trans women who actually think, you're non-binary, so you don't really exist in the trans world, you don't exist in the gay world, but I'm here.
Yeah.
And then when we think about intersectionality, Black, white, all of that, that also plays a factor too. As a Black person that grew up in St. Louis, and our scene there is majority cis white gay men who also just look at Black people of why are you here?
I don't think that we talk about the racism within our own community often enough. So growing up in South Texas and finding my first gay clubs to go to, it's like you're okay to be here as a lesbian, but you're not okay to be here as Black. I can't separate. I can't divide those things.
And speaking of racism and privilege, I don't think it's a coincidence that there's a couple of, not speaking for you, Catherine, but I think that some of our privilege as white people may be why we're standing, part of the reason why we're standing over here.
I think we have our issues within the LGBTQI community, especially the trans community, because a lot of us have dealt with such trauma and have internalized that and sometimes take it out on other people in the community, which is unfortunate. But I've always been accepted as who I am, and that's because you can't tell me who I am. I know who I am. If you want to make me someone else, that's your problem, not mine. I did transition in the mid-'80s and into the 90s, but had to detransition because I had lost my job and I couldn't find another job. So I went back to being my male self, developed my career again, and continued on. In about 2013, or 2011 actually, I had a near-death experience and found out that I really should get on with my life as Catherine.
I don't always correct homophobic or transphobic comments.
I don't always.
I will often get an influx of hate comments, and I used to engage, and I realize it just takes your energy away, and so I just try to focus on my immediate physical reality.
I tell the choristers, do not look at the comments, and they'll look at the comments, and they'll get so upset and so hurt. And I'm like, screw those people, we don't even know who they are.
There was this time about a few weeks ago, I took my twins, my 9-year-old twins, to the pediatrician, and I was signing on the forms. And what did the form say? Mom and Dad. And I was clear to the doctor when I went into the room with the doctor. I said, London and Duke have 2 moms, and your form doesn't account for that. But then I went to the front desk as I was signing out and said, to the office manager, this needs to be changed. And I scratched it out. Like, there's probably a little bit of anger and frustration as I scratching it out. It's like, I was like, this really needs to be changed because it's very frustrating. It's exhausting. It takes energy.
As someone who grew up in the Midwest and South, grew up with a lot of male cousins, I was always fighting. I was very effeminate, so I always had to protect myself. Then, as I transitioned and got older, I found myself in a lot of abusive relationships. Unfortunately, moving through that, I'm always on high alert and always feel the need to protect myself. So if I hear something, I'm always correcting someone. But I also understand that I'm trying to get out of that because that is really rooted in survival, right?
I feel like I can't let it go. It's too much of the letting it go that's gotten us to where we are already.
Yes.
You almost feel kind of parental in a way. You need to correct this person. You need to change their thinking. And if they if folks are allowed to say things and do things and nothing gets said, how can I call myself an advocate for social justice if when I hear these things going on, I simply don't say anything?
Brands that support the LGBTQIA+ community do so with the best intentions.
I think that brands that are very transactional, and so they'll only call us during Pride Month.
Yes.
And then we talk about so what about the post-Pride Month support? What does that look like? And so I think that many brands have not figured out how to not be transactional in their interactions with us.
Right.
This is a relationship, y'all. That's what I can tell them, not pick us up when you're ready for us because it makes you look good for Pride Month and then throw us back out whenever we're suffering day in and day out. We need you January through December, not just June.
We've been fortunate with our chorus to work with some amazing brands that have been very supportive, but then there are those that they know they're gonna call you during, as we said, Pride Month. But I am hopeful that a lot of corporations, because we're all part of these corporations now, that they have to look within their corporate structure and really make the necessary changes to be more supportive to the LGBTQ+ and BIPOC communities year round. Coming to us in June, we're booked. I'm already booked for
Booked
next
and busy.
year.
Booked and
Yeah,
busy.
booked, busy, and blessed.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
now it comes down to which one of those sponsors are gonna help us out the most.
Yeah.
And then we might get them a spot.
I've done a lot of like Pride sponsorships with brands, and there are a lot of brands who are incredibly intentional. Like Care with Pride makes sure that their messaging and their branding like isn't just performative, that the folks that they're representing like are actually being supported.
And they check in with you. It's not just, hey, here's a few dollars and promote us. They actually genuinely check in with
Yes.
you throughout the year. And
Yeah.
I'm here thanks to them. They helped us install security cameras after our mural was vandalized a few years ago. And ironically, 2 weeks ago, we were vandalized with swastikas and just hateful rhetoric. And we actually had the security system, and we were able to turn that over to the Orlando Police Department, and the person has since been arrested.
There are a lot of companies and a lot of people who aren't paying attention to what's happening outside the US, and it's really rare to find a company that cares so much and is paying attention to what's happening to LGBTQ people around the world and is willing to support us financially and is willing to send us care packages for the activists that we work with.
Oh, hello, it's me, Elle. Thanks so much for tuning into this special Jubilee episode of Spectrum. I wouldn't be here in this very room sharing my perspective with these incredible leaders if it weren't for Care with Pride. Okay, but wait, what is Care with Pride? It's an employee-led cross-brand initiative that is dedicated to openly supporting love, equality, and care for all individuals within the LGBTQIA+ community. Since 2011, Care with Pride has donated over $1.5 million to nonprofit groups, including a wide variety of local and regional organizations making positive grassroots impacts on the community. Advancing equality takes a community on all fronts, and this initiative is here to stand with and by LGBTQIA+ people. Check out the link in the description to learn more. Okay, back to the episode.
Certain people in the LGBTQIA+ community are given more of a voice than others.
I want to hear what you say.
Well, I'm the only one that's not strongly agreeing. And the reason for that is we take responsibility to use our own voice. And if you let somebody else take your voice, that's kind of on you in a way.
Well, the hierarchy is gay men,
Right, exactly.
gay white men specifically, and then there's the rest of us, and that's kind of how I feel. Why does somebody always have to be at the bottom?
Yeah.
Why does somebody always have to be at the top?
Absolutely.
Why is somebody always in the middle?
Yeah.
Why can't we all have parity and equity across all of our voices?
Exactly. For me to be the first Black person to lead an organization in 44 years, and I'm not the only one. For the first time in history, there's 6 Black leaders, Black queer leaders who are leading national organizations. So for me, other folks were given, gay white men were given a voice. They were given a seat at the table, and we were not. So that strong voice and leadership was not heard from anyone who looked like me. And for an organization to take 4 decades to realize that it's time to create space for other people at the table, that parity needs to be actually something that we think about. It's happening now, and it has not been happening for long enough. My wife and I had challenges when we were trying to create our family. It was a nightmare, and we almost gave up. And many LGBTQ+ people do give up on their dream of becoming parents. For me, now that I have a family, I want anyone who wants a family to have that family, and I want to be a part of that journey and help remove barriers for them so they can create that.
Speaking of people who are not heard, since I work internationally, I can just say that queer activists and queer people who live outside of the US, outside of Western Europe, are oftentimes largely invisible, and they're not really supported. And so for me, one of the things I'm passionate about is passing the mic to them, lifting up their voices, making sure people see that queer people are literally everywhere on this planet. And the other thing is, as a cis person, just passing the mic to trans people, or when I have a platform, making sure that I'm talking about trans rights, trans issues, that's the thing that I'm so passionate about, and I wish other people, cis people in our community, would give up that power.
We're literally elbowing
just
each other.
humans.
We're elbowing each other to get a seat at the table, and it's
Yeah.
like, that's not how it works. I tell people when they do that, I'm like, do you want to be free or not? Because if you're worried about power and you won't give that mic to someone else, then you don't want to be free.
It's more important to have allies outside than inside the community.
I think it starts with us, and if we can't stand up for not only ourselves, but our siblings in our own community, then we're lost. I think we have to be there for each other within our community. That said, we're never going to see the change we want to see in the world if we don't get more allies to join us.
Yeah. I often get called out in the trans community as a music group, bringing in an ally to work with us, but I'm like, we need that. I think it's kind of a big thing for us to reach out and bring them in as much as they need to reach back.
I think whether we want to admit it or not, they are in spaces that we're not. And sometimes their voices are going to be listened to before they listen to our voices.
Yes. People show their true colors too when we're not around.
Yes.
So a lot of times,
Yes.
like it is then that they need to know that they are not safe to express that when we're not around, because if they are, then they just won't invite us.
Yeah.
The LGBTQIA plus movement is stronger now than ever before.
I think it's stronger, but this is where my intersectionality runs into play. It's just like, yeah, it's kind of strong, but then, you walk into the room and there's still like, as my grandmother said, this brown skin is not going anywhere. So I bring this with me everywhere, and I would love for my queer siblings to really see that and see all of this as one, not just as a part of if I'm in that clique or not.
What really gives me hope is how much it's growing and how vibrant it is. And from the international perspective with Outright, we see activists in literally almost every country on the planet. So it's incredibly hopeful to think about how much progress we've made, and I think we really have an opportunity to radically accelerate social and legal change for everyone in our community because of the strength of the activists and the advocates and the allies who are on the ground, who are doing the work and who aren't going to give up.
Being in the social media space, I see that social media has given us the ability to connect in a way that we never have been before, and be able to see our experience in each other and to grow more secure in our lived experience by witnessing someone else living freely in theirs. I do believe that that connection is what is scaring folks into trying to create legislation against us. So I do believe that while we are at risk, perhaps more than ever, that is a sign of us being stronger and more connected than ever.
I think we have a lot of young soldiers coming up behind us, young folks, young fighters that are willing to take up the baton and are brave and courageous, and just I admire them completely. And so, it's one of the reasons why I keep doing this work, because I know that the generations coming behind us, they should have a much better time of life than we did.
A local school board in the area where I live in the South Bay of Los Angeles, the school board chair wanted to ban a book because it had a trans character in it. So a group of us, I belong to PFLAG, we all went up to the board meeting to say our thoughts. I didn't have to. The young students in that group stood up and eloquently told the school board, if you ban that book, more people are going to read it, number one. Number two, you can't tell me who I am. I know who I am. To hear these younger people, and that's what gives me the greatest hope, is the younger generation is coming together and saying, we're just who we are.
We're getting to a point where the younger ones they look at us and they're like, we don't care what your orientation is. We don't care about your gender expansion. What we care about is, what are you doing to my planet? What are you leaving me with? You have young children. What are we leaving them with? I mean, that's what gives me hope, is that they are going to come up, and soon this is all going to be pushed aside. They can't stop us. It's a movement. They can knock us down every year with T-Door and other atrocities in our community, but we rise up and we rise up and we rise up.
Meeting everyone here today is very empowering. Being surrounded by so much love and care is really important and really drives the passion and the movement forward.
1, 2, 3.
Yes!
Thank you all.
Look at us. Look at us.
You have more friends than you know. Some who surround you, some you are destined to meet. You'll have more love in your life. Don't let go. Give it time. Take it slow. Those who love you the most may need more time to grow. It's gonna be okay. You have more friends than you know. Oh my goodness.